Earlier this morning, President Trump started off his day with some angry tweets. Now, this followed not only the disaster summary of Trump's July 25th call to Vladimir Zelensky, um, which, by the way, shows that he tried to pressure the foreign government to investigate Joe Biden, and a whistleblower complaint detailing the entire debacle, including the news that following the call, Trump's team locked down the actual transcript into a separate computer system, usually reserved for national security stuff. Anyway, totally not shady whatsoever. Totally not. But anyway, turns out, according to that complaint, the system had been used multiple times to hide possibly politically damaging stuff. So who knows what else is in there? Very interesting. Now, this also follows the involvement of Rudy Giuliani going to Ukraine to follow up on that call to make sure that Ukraine does their investigation of Joe Biden, and Trump telling Ukraine to work with both Giuliani and Attorney General William Barr. So all those people are kind of swept up into this. Now, all of this has led Nancy Pelosi, who's normally incredibly weak, to, and by the way, was somebody who was against impeachment, finally saying, okay, I give up. I give up. Fine, we'll start an impeachment inquiry. Okay. Now, that has President Trump in a meltdown. So let me show you one of these tweets. The greatest scam in the history of American politics. All caps. Great. So now there was another tweet here. Said the Democrats are trying to destroy the Republican Party and all that it stands for. Stick together, play their game, and fight hard, Republicans. Our country is at stake. Okay. So on the Republican Party. You know, they essentially have destroyed themselves at this point by over the last few decades, even before Trump, because really Trump is not he's not the disease, he's a symptom, right? Symptom of that disease. And look, that disease involves corporate Democrats as well. But that's a longer discussion. But anyway, yeah, they basically don't embrace minorities, working people. They stand for the white Christian male, which is great if you're a white Christian male. Not so good if you're anyone else. So there's that. They are, I think, the party of white fragility. And who is the most fragile of them all? Mirror, mirror. That would be President Trump. Okay. So anyway. Now, the internet had some fun with this, as usual. Lorraine Frankenberry says, Trader says what? Interesting. Brian Class said, the evidence is literally in the transcript that you released. The acting director of national intelligence, who you appointed, deemed the whistleblower complaint credible and urgent. You were fighting against evidence coming from your own office. It's a really good point. Jeremy Newberger said it's like Watergate, but with more whining. Yeah, look, one of the tweets before is presidential harassment. No president has ever been treated this badly in American history. JFK had his face blown off. What are you talking about? Seriously. No, nobody's been treated this unfairly. Sure. Okay. Anyway, there's more. Christopher Zullo said, let's remember, it's not just about this call. It's about previous calls and actions beforehand. Important context. Was support withheld when you mentioned Biden on Ukraine call? Was it quid pro quo, implication or reference? Doesn't have to be on this call alone. And look, we know that there were 8 separate instances of him pressuring Zelensky, the Ukrainians, to do an investigation into Joe Biden. So, yeah, we have that. And that is outside of this particular July 25th call. So, very important context, right? And look, the whistleblower complaint goes into great detail about the actions taken by Trump and Giuliani before this call, noting specifically how the Ukrainians had to show that they were willing to play ball and show a willingness to investigate Biden before Trump would talk to them on the phone. So that's important context. But Dean Nobledalo points out something interesting, and I enjoy this. Guess what happened on July 25th? The day Trump asked Ukraine's president for dirt on Joe Biden. Fox News released a poll showing Trump losing to Biden by 10 points. Trump's, of course, went after the poll on Twitter. And, Obadala thinks that this is what caused Trump to panic and call Ukraine. If so, interesting. I mean, again, they cite Biden's corruption as the reason for the investigation, right? Especially Hunter Biden, right? So now, my question is, would they have done this investigation? Would they have pressured Ukraine into doing this investigation if Joe Biden weren't ahead? If Joe Biden weren't a political threat? I mean, that's a good question, right? Now, I think it's crazy that Joe Biden leads in any poll in the first place. I mean, come on, dude. But say either Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren were in first place. Now, do you think that he would have still launched something on Joe Biden if he were in sixth? If he were not a political threat? I don't think so. I don't think he would have cared. No, I think it would have went after either Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, whoever's in first. It's not because of Biden's corruption. And look, Hunter Biden served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company. The Ukrainians had a prosecutor that the entire world believed was corrupt. Joe Biden was VP. Is there a conflict of interest? Yes. Are the benefits to Hunter Biden incidental? Unfortunately, yes. Again, conflict of interest would not have been there in that position. And I don't believe that they never talked to each other about that stuff. Oh, come on. You know they did. Of course. Joe Biden is a different kind of corrupt. It's a systemic corruption. Whereas, Donald Trump is more of the actual in-your-face personal corruption. And that really is the difference here. If you want to criticize that, I will be right there alongside you criticizing that. But unfortunately, there's nothing illegal about this systemic corruption, even if it is systemic. So now, soliciting a campaign donation, which is what this would be from a foreign leader, is 100% illegal. And so when you look at this, when you look at the context, Trump had all the power, all the leverage in that situation for there to be pressure on the Ukrainians. And so that's why, and he knows it, and that's why he's in such a gigantic panic. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.